Welcome to the NOWcast, the Nerds of War podcast, Game of Thrones Postcast, the second episode of the third episode. Fuck yeah.
Can we add any more titles to it?
I don't know. Can we be Khaleesi?
Breaker of casts.
Breaker of casts.
The uncasts. What other
Queens of the Grass cast.
Mother of casts.
First of our cast. Rightful cast of the Andals. Today it is Josh and Alfie, as is last time, bringing to you today our thoughts, the postcast, if you will, on Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 3, The Queen's Justice.
When it said The Queen's Justice, I was like, oh, it's Daenerys.
But what queen, though?
Yeah, exactly.
The first thing I was at was, but what queen?
Which queen is it?
Every queen gets a little bit of justice in that show.
Yeah, and also Jon's a bit of a queen.
Yeah, but he's fabulous.
That's why he's a bit of a queen. I don't know if there was an apostrophe in that. It could have just been the queens, as in both of them.
I think there was an apostrophe.
Yeah, I think we're maybe reading too much into the title.
No, I think they know.
I picked up on a lot of things because I think we mentioned last time that the fact that because the series is shorter, everything they say is almost in a metaphor and everything means something.
So we'll get back to it later, but just as a quick thing, talking about the Queen's Justice, I think that Olenna got the most justice, the Queen of Thorns.
Yes.
But we'll come on to that because it's like the last thing, so
Yeah.
we'll get on to that.
Of course.
But before we address anything...
Spoiler.
What is with you? Is your name Alfie Riversong suddenly?
What?
Are you going backwards in time, I'm going forwards?
Yeah.
Alfie Riversong?
Yeah.
Right.
Doctor Who.
Yeah, right.
It's a different show.
No shit. Right.
Doctor Who spoiler if you haven't seen like that series.
Oh, here's a spoiler. Doctor Who dies.
Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, we'll add that to the list of the ones that we did last time.
Yeah. So, no. Before we get into this episode, I wanted to discuss with you about last episode. So this is why I've got a map up here. If Marine is here. So she's got to go all the way down through Slaver's Bay, the Gulf of Grief, the Smoky Islands, some fucking pretentious names. All the way up here, right? And then she goes all the way to Dragonstone. And then from there, she sends her fleet back through the Narrow Sea, which, again, we've discussed how Euron just fucking knows where they are, despite the fact this sea is pretty big.
Yeah.
To Dawn, right? That's where they're going.
Yeah.
So they sailed past Dawn to Dragonstone to go back to Dawn, to then go back to King's Landing.
Bit weird.
Why not just pick fuckers up on the way?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't have any ravens.
I just wanted to
send out.
Something that bothered me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And then looking at the map as well, Dragonstone's so close to King's Landing
Yeah.
that it's...
Well, their fight is a bit ridiculous, really.
Yeah, I don't know how... I'm guessing the Narrow Sea is quite large because it does take a while to get from there to Pentos. It's not like the English Channel.
Yeah.
So Queen's Justice.
Queen's Justice.
Queen's Justice. So yeah, Cersei got a lot of justice. Daenerys didn't get so much justice. She was just...
Oh, fucking... She's such a cunt.
She's just being a bit annoying. One of the things, couple of things I noticed, I'm not sure how important they actually are. Who's Daenerys' assistant?
Missandei.
Yes, she was...
Her PA.
Yeah, her PA. She was wearing a brooch, which is a dragon eating a dragon eating a dragon.
So it's like an Ouroboros, but with 3 heads.
Which is a sign of infinity, isn't it, basically? Yeah.
Speaking of brooches, something I've put in my notes. Did you notice it's such a try-hard, hideous brooch? Like, they were forcing this in. They're like, look, we've got to put this in because Daenerys has 3 dragons. So here's this fucking massive, hideous to look at, triple-headed dragon brooch. Did you not see it?
No, I didn't see that one.
There's a bit where she's talking to Jon, like close up when they're on the cliff, and she says he can wind the dragon glass.
Yeah.
And she's wearing this fucking thing that looks like a corsage of flowers.
I was about to say, does it have all that kind of like silk kind of bows and everything?
It fucking might as well. It looks so out of place because it's like the size of her fist, just casually on her very quite slight shoulder. Just fucking massive silver brooch.
Because I wondered whether the fact that she's got that brooch, because that's not the house sigil. So I'm wondering whether the dragon eating the dragon is something to do with the fact that the madness it's when, not if.
Maybe.
They're mad or something.
Let me see if I
or
can
it might be something linked as well to Bran later on in the episode when he mentions he was taught by the 3-eyed raven.
Let's get to
but
it
he's
in
the 3-eyed
order.
raven.
Let's get to it in order, yeah? Yeah, okay, so here it is. Here's a little bit of it. There's one going left, one going right, and one facing straight ahead.
Yeah,
and it's just so big.
Something the Queen would wear.
And it just looks fucking atrocious.
Yeah.
I
did not notice that.
Yeah, I did. And like the entire scene, I was just looking at this brooch. I was like, what the fuck is that? So we have Jon arriving on Dragonstone with Tyrion, like meeting Tyrion.
Yeah, and it's the first time Sir Davos is back at Dragonstone.
First of all, we start with that banter between Jon Snow and Tyrion.
Yes.
Class A bants. Like, that's cheeky Nando's level of banter, that is, right there.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. I loved it. Immediately loved that moment.
You're the bastard. You're the dwarf.
And you know, it's like in the background.
It's almost like kind of a synopsis for a comedy show, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, they're so different, but they get along, type thing.
So then you get they're like, disarm them, basically, right?
Yeah.
Do you notice how all of the fucking... This happens in every season. All the Northmen look like such... cunts, right? No, I don't mean, I mean like their costumes, right? I get that like the North is like they don't need finery, they're just
a bit rough,
yeah. But they always wear those like tin baking cap helmets, and they just look like a bit muggish compared to everyone else. And I was just like a bit derpy. And then the bit of crap, it's not intentionally funny, but it's the bit where they like take their boat basically, and the Dothraki just sort of shuffle off out of frame carrying this boat.
I'm surprised actually they didn't just have one person just be like, I'm going with the boat. Yeah, they look really upset by their boat going.
Why would you take it as well?
Even later, Jon was brooding about his boat. He's like,
we'll go on to the brooding.
Yeah, they took my boat. And also, after they met, just after that scene, they're walking up the steps to Dragonstone, and the dragons fly past.
That pissed me off.
Why did it piss you off?
Well, because they're all like, ha 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 ha, Jon and Davos ducked, right? And the thing is, though, when you watch the shot, aside from Tyrion, who's like level with the wall, the dragon flew so close to where the waist-high wall was. Yeah. Everyone would have physically had to duck or be smashed in the head by a fucking dragon. Yeah. And it just pissed me off that they're like, fucking dickhead Northerners ain't hardcore like us. What, because you can go fucking intangible through a dragon? Well, yeah, they can't fucking deal with that.
I'm surprised they didn't say, like, you've never seen a dragon before. But it was very reminiscent. It reminded me a lot of, you know, the scene in Jurassic Park where they first saw the Brachiosaurus.
Yeah.
And then she was like, we're talking, and then she just kind of... And I was waiting for the Jurassic Park music to start. Do you reckon when they ducked and they looked up and the dragon's flying away.
I was going to edit that. So like,
I would love that. I would love to see that. I'd love to. I'll do it if no one else does. It's just so funny. Just wait for like Jon to like grab Sir Davos's face by the chin and twist his head round.
I love that bit with Davos and Missandei when he's like, the way it's changed.
It's changed.
Oh, a lovely little weird thing.
What does he mean by it's changed? Does he mean it's nicer, or the fact that there's attractive women?
I think he just means he's been a bit racist. Like there's non-white people around here now.
Oh, no. He's so funny. Davos, he says the funniest things.
Then we got to that bit where like Varys and Melisandre were on the cliff.
I found that quite interesting, that scene.
As well as that scene being quite good, I thought it was so beautiful. Like the shot when it backs onto her, when it's from her back, filmed like with the sea in front of her and the cliffs going around. That was fucking just beautiful.
Is it filmed? I know it used to be filmed in Ireland. It looks Irish, but I'm not sure.
I was discussing it with Ed last night. I haven't looked into where the shooting location was, but it looked like it'd be Ireland or maybe Scotland.
Yeah.
But it's fucking gorgeous.
But at the same time, if you look at the map, it actually looks like that bit where the dragon flies around. You've actually got Claw Isle. Well, you don't see that bit, but you've actually got that. So I don't know how much CGI is in it. Yeah. How much it doesn't look CGI.
It's gonna be one of those ones where it's just like CGI and it's just her on a box and it's just like a green screen behind her.
What was that really weird movie, Sky Captain something, which is all just blue screen, by Angelina Jolie.
The one that corrected was the Beauty and the Beast one. Seen the shot where Emma Watson's walking down the stairs room and it's some dude in like a bobble motion cap suit wearing like springy stilts walking down, and she's all like dainty and he's just like having to sort of roam around.
Excellent. I haven't seen that. Beautiful. Sort of film though. The film's pretty decent.
But that was interesting as well because Melisandre is, you know, like Varys is always, him and Littlefinger have both been characters that are sort of omniscient in their own way.
Yeah.
And then her at the end just being like, I've got to come back to die here, just like you, sort of reaching to shake
just
him.
Like you. But I don't know whether, because when he said like, because I think she said something like, I have to die in this strange land or in a strange land, one of the other.
I think it was this.
Work it out. And then she said, just like you, which either she's predicting his death or she's winding him up or he knows. Because it looked like he knew quite well.
Or there's always the thing that Varys is just surprised that he's going to die one day. Maybe he just thought he was mortal.
Well, what's quite interesting is, like, in the books, isn't he? Because in the books he has different disguises.
Well, in the book he's also a cunt.
Yeah, but he has different disguises in the book, doesn't he? So he changes, like, persona and actual kind of physical appearance as well. But in the film, for reasons obvious in the actual series, they don't do that with him. So, yeah, it was quite interesting. I was like, maybe he's not letting on as much as he knows himself.
Then we get to the bit where Dany and Jon finally meet in the throne room. And once again, going back to this fucking thing I think I brought up last week, Daenerys gets introduced with her like 50,000 fucking names. So like, Unbreaker, Khaleesi, it's just like, roll on, fucking. And then you just get Davos, who's just like, this is Jon. He's my mate from down the pub.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, King of the North or something. You know, he's very chill. So, like, he's obviously not used to the pomp and ceremony. I think it's fucking beautiful because it highlights the fact that his character was a peasant who raised himself up to be a knight. Like, well, he was a smuggler, wasn't he? I mean, peasant, smuggler, knight, hand of the king.
So I called him the Onion Knight.
Yes, because he saved them.
He smells of onions.
He smuggled onions in and saved them from starving, I thought.
Potentially. But he's got a flea bottom accent.
Does he, man?
Flea bottom. That's great because he's the only one with that accent.
I know.
I think there might have been one other Geordie, but he's the only one in the entire Game of Thrones who has a flea bottom accent.
Yep. Daenerys is still being a cunt, right? Like, I get she doesn't know Jon, and like obviously as viewers we have a very outside perspective. We see everything, blah blah blah. She is just immediately like, oh, this fucking haughty bullshit, like bend the knee, I'm queen, suck on my fat tits, sort of fucking mentality, and it's just like, calm down, darling. You ain't done anything yet.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to think, because I knew that was going to happen anyway. In regards to the way she was going to act. But at the same time, she is getting a bit pompous. But also, as you mentioned, she doesn't know Jon, and the fact is that like every man she's met has been like mostly horrible to her or anything, apart from Tyrion and Grey Worm.
There's a few of them who haven't. Granted, I'm not saying her her life's obviously been in the vast percentage.
I think it's normally the people who have power.
But then you could also say there's quite a large percentage of women who have treated her badly when you think back through the show as well. I'm worried it's going to go through this real sort of man-hating sort of route is how it feels at the moment.
It might do.
But
it might do.
She did, I admit, they showed like quite a lot of depth. This is what I thought was weird. Her character goes from being like a real sort of standoffish dick immediately to being like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm sorry that my dad burned your granddad and uncle. Bad. Although if you think about it, his granddad burnt his granddad.
Yeah, that's true.
Because of his Targaryen side.
Exactly.
Which is pretty amusing.
It's like Jon Snow said earlier, he goes, I'm not a Stark.
You're a Targaryen.
Yeah. Well, it was actually going back to the Melisandre and Varys meeting on the cliff, because she said she just brought up the line. She goes, I brought ice and fire together. Yeah. That's what she said. There was something that she actually admitted to making mistakes, because beforehand she's all like, it's in the fate of the Lord of the Light. The Lord of the Light tells me to do this. Yeah. And then she's like, no, I parted with the King of the North not on very good terms because of mistakes I made. So I don't know whether she's talking about burning the Baratheon child or raising Jon from the dead.
Maybe. I've always interested in that. If you think about it, because there's a big discussion about whether Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen got married before they had Jon. Yeah. Because if they did, that would make him the legitimate heir over Daenerys. He would be the legitimate Targaryen heir to the throne. Yeah. Which would be kind of interesting. This is another point that I thought was odd. When Daenerys starts bitching, even though I'm queen, you keep refusing to call me queen. I'm like, he keeps calling her your grace, which from my knowledge is nomenclature for, referring to a queen or king directly. But she keeps calling him my lord, even though at that point he's basically just as much a king as she is a queen.
And he was never a lord.
No, there's that as well. But you get what I mean? He is referring to her as your grace. Yeah. So as a queen, he is stating that, but she isn't.
Maybe she didn't understand his Sean Bean accent.
Yeah. Also,
your grace.
Now, the last thing I have to really say about this scene, I do love the interaction with them when they start getting closer and they're in frame. The acting between Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke's really good. I think there's a lot of chemistry there. Probably gonna fuck. This is something that carries over for me throughout all of his meeting with her on Dragonstone, is the fact that she seems really incredulous about the Night King and the zombies, right? Yeah. Which I get. I was saying to my friend Matt last night, if our friend Tony came over and said, mate, there are zombies in Scotland, I'd be quite, really though, really? However, if our friend Tony came over while we were on our unicorn farm, raising unicorns, and told us that, I'd be like, oh, okay. Maybe. Fucking Night King, zombies, let me just go ride my dragon quickly.
Yeah. This is a point I had as well, is the fact that she's got 3 dragons, right? And dragons haven't been around for ages, but she's got 3 dragons.
She's also immune to fire.
Her father had dragon skulls or something, didn't he? Yes. And she's immune to fire, and yet she doesn't believe in White Walkers or an army of the dead.
Yeah, but it's fine with the giant fire-breathing lizards and the fact that she's immune to fire.
Yeah.
That's simple. That's fine.
Bit strange. But then
and the fact that her kid came out as like a fucking demon.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. Do you ever actually see it? It was like a dragon type.
It looked like a
baby.
Sort of, half-breed motherfucker. Yeah, one grey hair in your beard.
I've got a couple here.
You've got one really prominent grey hair in your beard. I keep catching it out of the corner of my eye.
I know. It's good, isn't it? He says, "Am I your prisoner?" And then she gave him a wink and went, "Whatever you fancy.
Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat, John."
Next scene. And I've just got one line, because there wasn't a lot to say about this, but I've just put poor Theon still paying for his mistakes.
Yeah.
I get it in the Ironborn culture, it's all like, in
any of the Westeros culture.
You've got to be all like balls hard and that. And he did make some pretty big fuck-ups, like betraying Robb and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, he got mutilated, tortured, and I just feel bad for Theon at this point, because he's trying. You know what I mean? Like, he put it this way, right? He's come from... like this idea, like he didn't grow up a Greyjoy basically, he grew up a Stark.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But he's always had this glorious idea of the Ironborn thing, basically, like being that sort of West End tough guy sort of thing, you know what I mean? So he goes there, they take the piss out of him, he tries his best, they betray him. He then has his cock knobbed off, right? Which he was very proud of his cock.
Did he get fed? He didn't get fed to him, it got sent to his sister, didn't it? And his dad.
And then from that, plucks up enough courage to then go back to that same culture where basically sans cock, he is just like he's less than a person.
Yeah.
Right? So he's got some balls to go back. And then everyone's still treating him like a cunt. I just feel bad.
Yeah, to be honest, there seems to be lots of people with genital mutilation in the series. So
it seems to be a big...
It seems to be it seems to be more common than it is in, for example, now in our real life.
It's pretty common, just not in our country.
Because you've got like eunuchs and you've got the Unsullied... thousands of men there with no testicles.
Yeah.
So that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you got all of that going on. You got Varys or whatever his name is. Then you've also then you've got Theon. Yeah. So he's kind of like, I don't know what they're going to do. They can't really. He's basically in charge now, isn't he? With them because they're the remainder.
Well, in theory, but the thing is though, it's not in the Iron Islands. It's not a matter of. Lineage succession, is it? It's the king's moot, so the people choose who's strongest to lead them.
And then they drown them in the sea. And they're like, if you come to life, you're the king. If not...
you're dead. And you're a bitch.
We'll find someone else.
What is dead can never die. So next is just the Euron
the best
parade.
Scene.
It's just the Euron parade of gloriousness.
I really like Euron in that scene.
Because there's such wonderful lines. Apart from, like, even if you ignore the fact that he's... like, I like one of the lines to Yara when he's like, "Oh, like they're cheering a Greyjoy through the streets." Like that's quite a big thing because obviously the Greyjoys rebelled.
Yeah.
All those years ago, but it's just like, do you see that cock? Listens to this, just like, what a twat, and then
he was like, "Oh, what a twat!"
Just rocks up into the throne and then starts fucking absolutely jiving the shit out of Jaime. He's like, "Give me any pointers." She like a finger in the bum and all that. It's just like. What?
But also as well, the kind of the symbolism of him riding a horse into the main, the main queen's room or king's room, and then he rides it right up to the throne. Yeah. It's just like no one's done that. I was expecting the horse to do like a go back or rear up on its legs or something as well.
Little dance.
Do a little dance. Yeah, do a little like trot around in a circle, and then him like the horse kind of like bend down over the front, so he then just comes off the front of the horse. That would have been amusing. But yeah, he was quite funny.
That was just Euron just being an absolute boss for about 3 minutes.
It was great. It was a really funny scene. But and he always is just constantly. It's everything he says is about sex, even if it's not. Everything he says is about sex, and when he's talking to Cersei, and then he's like, "Oh, you know what I want," and then she's like. Yeah, you will get what your heart desires when we win the war. And I'm not sure whether she actually basically is saying at that point she will, whether she's saying it just to kind of lead him on, or whether she just thinks they're going to lose anyway, so there's no point. Or she's just ultra desperate.
I don't think there's any doubt in her mind that she's going to win. I don't think she even thinks for a second she's going to lose the war.
Yeah. Do you think she would really marry Euron or anything?
I don't know, either that, but then she goes on to...
She'll have him killed.
Yeah, then we go to the best scene.
No, I just had something down here about people wearing different black outfits.
Oh.
They're all still wearing black outfits, but Cersei's one's grown like diamonds.
Yeah.
And I think Daenerys' one is kind of, it's different, it's slightly different as well. Yep. But they're also wearing black outfits. But yeah, and then isn't it the revenge scene?
That is possibly my favourite scene of that entire episode. When Cersei's like, I thought it was beautiful to see that sort of mask break, that like ultra confident sadistic mask, when she's just like honestly seems to be asking, why did you take Marcella from me? Like, why did you do it?
Yeah.
I will point out though, as beautiful as that was acted, isn't the whole reason Oberyn wanted revenge is because under Tywin Lannister's orders, the Mountain like raped and killed his sister and their kids.
Yeah.
So that's probably why she probably killed your daughter because you had already killed one of her daughters at that point, or raped her sister, or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean?
I think the main issue was at that point as well is the fact that you've got the Martell mum and you've got her daughter, and then she's basically saying, is she your favourite daughter? Because technically she is her favourite daughter. She goes, I know we shouldn't have one. So she's basically admitting that her daughter that she killed was her favourite as well. Yes. Because she also said that she didn't want a wet nurse. She didn't want a wet nurse for her, that she's the only child she's raised up. And then, and then she's doing that. And then it was quite, because I was like, how is she going to kill her?
Yeah, I thought that was beautiful. The idea that she's just
like, I'm not going to kill you.
No, you're going to live here forever.
We'll change the torch every couple of hours.
I did wonder why her lips were so red in that scene. I was like,
they were like a peachy kind of colour.
Yeah, and then she snogs her, does the same poison thing. She's like, you're just going to live here forever, and you're going to watch your daughter turn into a fucking decayed husk. Yeah. And that's so beautifully cruel. It's kind of scary as well.
It was quite interesting because, I mean, I don't like the character of Cersei herself, but I did like it when she got revenge on this Sparrows, was it? When she blew up the whole place. I was like, that was pretty decent. And the same this time round as well.
I'm okay with this because I hate the Sand Snakes. I think they're so boring. I think I covered that last time. They're super boring.
But they're all dead now. And
the only part of that scene I didn't get, I mean, I guess it was just the sort of mother-daughter hug they're going for, but the scene ends with those two just like trying to go at each other, just holding back by these chains, so just like arms out. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
They're just panicking, aren't they?
I guess
just panicking. They want to kind of hold each other or whatever. They're panicking, but that was a very good scene. I think there's not a lot of kind of battle in a sense. You got a bit of battle in the whole episode, but a lot of the scenes are quite good.
The scene is all about character interactions.
Yeah.
I think next week we're going to have a big battle. So then we have Cersei basically like raping Jaime near enough just to like reaffirm that yes, the siblings are still fucking.
And also, but she's in charge.
Yeah, so she's like, and then she's like, yep, fuck my brother. All those rumours were true. Get me new sheets, motherfucker. I think it would have been hilarious if that servant would go just like, Arya, stab.
While she's giving him a blowjob.
No, the next morning, you dick.
Oh, right, yeah.
Actually, Arya's blowing Jaime and she's just like, stab. No, the next morning.
When they wake up next to each other.
When they're waking up and Cersei like tells the servant girl, she's like, we're going to need new sheets.
Oh, right, yeah.
If they'd just been like, oh yeah, just did it well. And then the next
scene... I missed that quote. I've watched the episode twice and I missed that quote.
What, that we're going
to need new sheets.
Yeah, I think like she sort of opens the door and she's like, oh, something, blah, blah, blah. And then looks in, sees Jaime, and sort of seems to ignore it, and Cersei's like, we need new sheets. And then just like, that's the end of it. And then you've got that scene where Mycroft Holmes is in Westeros now.
Yeah, he's
playing the same character.
He's like, have you seen my brother?
Yeah, he's like, he's a high-functioning sociopath.
Yeah.
Quite like your brother.
Yeah. Exactly.
What interests me about this scene, right, is I think, despite the fact that you can say Cersei's a dickhead, she's like evil, whatever, this scene to me still shows like her interaction with the bank. Obviously, alludes to the fact when she like drops that sort of subtle foreshadowing, like the Tyrells are the second richest, which is obviously foreshadowing to later in the episode.
Yeah.
I think to me that this still highlights, even though Cersei may be evil, she's still a better ruler than Daenerys is. Right?
Well, yeah, because Daenerys would have just burnt him alive.
Yes, like Daenerys is a conqueror.
Yeah,
but like the way Cersei gets the Iron Bank, despite her massive debt, back on board, it's just such a beautiful scene in terms of like manipulation, wordplay.
Yeah, and the thing powerful. is, it's very difficult as well because they were saying like, you know, because you have the Tyrells kind of have a lot of the money as well, like you mentioned, but also they have a lot of the food, don't they? They supply a lot of the food and stuff to the King's Landing, and originally there was a deal in place. But then also the bank wants to invest in certain families. So she's like, how's the slave trade going for you now, huh?
Got it!
And he's like, oh, it's taking a bit of a dip. It's taking a little bit of a dip. It'll pick up. Because obviously it's going to pick up when she's not in ASOS or whatever.
Yeah.
She's not over that way. Essos, not ASOS.
Esteros, basically.
Esteros. Essex, Wessex, Nessex. There's not an Essex, is there? There's a Sussex, but there's not a Nessex.
Yeah, but there's also not like North the Ross and South the Ross. There's Westeros and Essos.
Well, it's east, isn't it? East and west.
Yeah, that was the point.
Yeah.
That's what I said. There's no North the Ross and South the Ross.
Centauros.
Then there's even more banter between Tyrion and Jon Snow. He's like, "Oh, you make me feel like I'm failing at brooding."
Before we get to that part, that's at the same place that Melisandre was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But before we get to that part, when she was like, "Oh, the Lannisters always pay their debts," like surely he's heard that a billion times. Why do they have debts if they always pay them? And that's what gets me. But she said, "Oh, in 2 weeks you'd be here with 2 weeks, and then we'll pay your debt."
Yeah.
I think that they can't pay the debt, but because they know that they're going to go to the House Tyrell, and
that's what I'm saying. That's why it's foreshadowing.
Highgarden, yeah.
That's why, because she knows, because Jaime's already on his way there.
2 weeks.
So she knows. That's why I'm saying it's foreshadowing.
Oh, get your money.
Because she knows, and then obviously later on we see them loading up Tyrell gold.
Yeah.
So then there's just another quality banter scene between Tyrion and Jon Snow about brooding.
Yeah, they're just brooding about stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like, he's like, I would brood, but you put me to shame with your brooding.
Yeah, brooding looks better on you also.
Yeah.
And it's just Peter Dinklage just riffing that entire time. And Jon Snow's just totally silent.
He's brooding.
And then, again, the only thing I've noticed there is that they talk about disbelief about stuff. Again, just furthering that point that, I can't believe in the Night King. Oh, but the dragons are okay.
Dragons flying around.
I just can't help but sort of reiterate this fucking point.
Yeah.
That everyone's in disbelief about zombies, but dragons are fine.
Have we gone past? I think we skipped a little bit where, when Daenerys gets told about the fact that Euron attacked the
That's next.
The Iron Fleet.
That's the next
It
scene.
is next.
Yes, it's literally the next scene.
It is.
So when they're in the council,
Yeah.
and Daenerys is like, blah, 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 blah.
Dany's crazy idea of killing Euron with dragons. That's what I put down.
Oh, yeah,
she's like, let me just ride my dragon. She's like,
dragon.
ships are made out of wood, and what burns wood? Well, fire.
Fire!
And they're like, yeah, but if you're on a dragon, you could fall, you could be speared, you could be killed.
Could fucking catch a cold.
I'm not going to be on my own, I'm going to be with these dragons. It's like, well...
What a ridiculous statement, though. I'm not alone with my dragons.
It's quite amusing.
And dragons also aren't...
That's knock down the dawn
Yeah, just flick
Dawn
it.
sigil.
I love the bit where Tyrion's like spouting wisdom at her, and he's just like,
Yeah.
and then just like chucks out one of his own lines from earlier in the show, and she's just like, trying to pass off what you said as wisdom. He's like, no, it's wonderful. There's just like so much subtle sort of humour in this.
It's like,
episode.
who said that? Which wise man said that?
Someone.
Some wise man.
Maybe someone. Someone
Pass your own one of his wisdom.
could have been me. Could have not been me.
It's true though.
Yeah, and then I did like the fact that she's picked up. I mean, I say picked up. It wasn't particularly subtle, but when Davos kicks off earlier in the show,
Yeah.
like, he took a knife to the hip when Jon cuts him off, and then she's like,
heart,
"What do you think he
yeah.
meant by a knife to the heart?" This is the thing, right?
He's like, oh, Geordie's always speaking metaphors.
This is what gets me. This woman put herself on a funeral pyre,
Yeah.
set fire to the pyre,
Came out alive.
came out completely alive,
with dragons.
and with dragons, and is seemingly incapable of believing that someone else could be like super magic like her. This is why I say she's a bad character at the minute, because she's so petulant, so self-involved. But I'm fucking super duper magical. What? Other magic? Pfft, no.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah.
You know, when you're just like...
Well, I think that's going to be part of her downfall, isn't it? The fact that she's going to be so shocked. And in the past, she's been so shocked that things can happen.
That's true.
All the time. So, you know, she's just like, how can this happen?
And then this is where we see the fucking ugly-headed brooch that I showed you earlier.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so hideous and big. It'd be different if it was like half the size.
It's a weapon. Mate,
it looks like the hilt of a very tiny sword.
It might be like it could be a dagger. She could pull it out, and it could have a dagger on the end.
Yeah, the problem is the dagger would need to be in her chest.
Well, like you know, like the hand of the king and the hand of the queen. They have that hand with a long thing on it. It's like, could be like that, but hidden. Well, at the same time, though, it could be like one of the Batman batarangs. She could throw it at someone.
Stop that.
She could kill Euron with it straight in the head.
Then we go to the north.
Oh no! Yeah,
With Sansa.
and Littlefinger.
Yeah, Sansa.
It's just Littlefinger's just there. She's walking around with him like he's her best mate, and I'm like, why?
And she shows that she's clearly pretty good at being a ruler, like talking about grain, talking about the fact that the armor needs leather on it. Yeah. That's all pretty good.
Shouldn't these be warmer?
Yeah, aren't we going to fucking freeze to death?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't there snow falling right now?
Surely we should put grain in the silos now rather than wait until we need it.
Yeah. And then, like, Littlefinger tries to say something, she just shuts him down. Yeah. But then they get to the corridor, and not the corridor, like, in the courtyard.
Yeah,
they're kind of alone, and I actually think that Littlefinger gives him some good advice, where he's like, Sansa.
I think he's going to... I thought he was winding her up.
I did, but...
Just to kind of confuse her.
He's like, Sansa, always think of every battle in your mind, Sansa. You gotta think about every eventuality, Sansa. I think that was well done, because I think that's actually some good advice he's giving her there.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, always be thinking about the next move.
He was basically saying, think about everything that's happening now, and think about everything that's going to happen in the future. And he goes, everyone's your enemy and everyone's your friend. Yeah. And then I'm expecting her head to explode at that point. Like Morpheus. Just like,
I do think that's really...
Sansa, what have I told you? Sansa, what have I told you?
Does you think that's air you're breathing, Sansa?
Yeah, that'd be great. Do
you know Kung Fu, Sansa?
No.
Stop trying to hit me. No. So then Bran appears.
Right? There is no spoon, Sansa.
And it's sort of weird, because like 2 episodes ago, we saw Bran, and Bran was talking like a normal person.
Yes, he was. He was talking like a very normal person.
He was chatting. He was very like, yeah, like, do you remember the Night King? Wasn't that fucked up? Please let me in the wall so I don't get fucked up by Night King. And now he's all like totally zoned out. He's out of it, and he's like, yes, I am the three-eyed raven. Like, he's done such a gap. Like, there was a gap where he's gone from normal person to like out of the way.
He hasn't seen Sansa since series 1 when she got married off to before she got married off to Joffrey.
Yeah. And he's like, it'll be very difficult to explain. And she's like, I don't know what the three-eyed raven is. And she's like, oh, please try for me, just try. And he's like, I see everything. And she's like, and he's like, and that's his explanation. Yeah. That's his fucking entire explanation of his powers.
But it's true.
It's true, but you could just be like, look, I can see everything. Like, I can see into the past. I can see stuff that happens now. I can commune with animals. That's a much better explanation than I can see everything.
Yeah.
And then to prove his powers, he's like,
that was a nice wedding dress.
Like, remember that night you got raped? Yeah. You looked really pretty when you got raped.
The snow was falling.
Yeah, you looked really nice in that dress. Yeah. Like, I'd have raped you if I was there and had legs and a penis that worked.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just like a bit of a... Maybe don't pick that. Maybe another day would have been good to pick Bran. Like that day when you and the Knights of the Vale saved Jon, you looked so powerful and strong, as opposed to... Remember that probably one of the worst moments in your life when you got brutally raped by a sadistic maniac. Remember that? You look pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, she did walk away a little bit concerned by that.
I would.
But at the same time, she was like, I'm gonna go back now. And he's like, I'll stay here for a bit longer. And I'm thinking, well, you're not going to be able to move. There's there's no one's there.
You don't see him in like the next 4 episodes, and then the last episode of the season ends with him just crawling to the door.
He just gets to the door and he's like, and he opens it, and they're probably all dead by that point. Yep. I like the theory originally when he was going to the tree, and the guy in the tree who is the three-eyed raven guy was teaching him how to be the three-eyed raven, and then the whole Hodor incident happened, and you're like, aha. Like paradoxy style stuff, and I'm like, well, that obviously means the old guy's him. In my head, anyway, the old guy's him, and it's this kind of constant cycle with each Bran.
There's loads of time.
Yeah, I think you said that there was another one where there are different Brans throughout time, but they're all the same.
Yeah, like Bran the Builder, all the other Brans.
Can he fix it?
Yes,
he can. Yeah.
Yes, he can.
But there's
can we fix it?
Can we fix it? But and he kind of goes like that all the time. It just goes in a cycle. But also the thing is, I think it ties in with immediately what Littlefinger said to her about you always have to think about every situation while it's happening now, while it's happening in the future. And then he goes, I can see everything that's happening now, everything that's happening in the future, and everything that has happened.
I'm pretty fixated on rape.
the thing that there's. I mean, when you're stuck in the north and you can basically watch anything, then he's just... Why is he watching that?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Of all the things to watch, why would you watch your sister being raped?
He's like, did she notice a crow? I don't remember a crow there at the time.
Maybe he's like, I have to watch it all, otherwise it invalidates her struggle. Okay, Bran. Okay. So then, we've got the fact that we got revealed... The fact that Jorah Mormont is Wolverine.
Yes.
Because Sam, tore all the skin off of his left side, put some Savlon on it, and now he's just got some slight red sores all over.
Yeah.
That I thought was amazing how, in theory, based on the reaction, it's been like a night.
Yeah.
And his entire thing is, scarred, but pretty good considering he just had what is essentially their version of the fucking Black Plague.
This is one of the things I think they sped up because of the length of episodes and the amount of episodes. I think that normally if you were to go back, if this was to happen in season 2, you would have been out of it for 4 episodes or even a whole series.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's no, straight away done.
Also, Jorah's like the worst liar in the world. How did this happen?
The climate.
Yeah.
I love that. He's just like, and the climate, and Sam's just like, shut up. Just stop it there. It was good until you said the climate.
How did you do it, Sam? I followed the instructions.
Yeah.
What?
This is the thing as well. He's like, well, I just followed the instructions in the book and it cured him. And they're like, well, no one else could really do it. And it's like, but has anyone else actually tried, or are they just making up excuses?
Also, that book was in the super restricted section. Who else has been able to read the book?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, in the end, you know, when he's like, all these fucking scrolls are like done, you need to copy them down. Were you expecting a reward? Your reward's not being kicked out. Mm-hmm. I think he's trying to help Sam without doing it sort of publicly, because he knows that people will be like, why is the Grand Maester believing in White Walkers when we know that's nonsense?
Because he has to read all of the scrolls to write them
I think he's gonna. I think there's something important in those scrolls, and he knows it. Yeah, and he's like, oh yes, busybody work, bye. And like he knows that Sam's gonna find something very important there.
Yeah, you might find out too late.
Maybe, but then, you know, tragedy.
Yeah, exactly.
So would your sister get raped? Tragedy.
Yeah. I just like the fact that they just poke Ser Jorah with a stick.
Yeah.
And be like, does it hurt? And he's like, a little, but not as much as it used to.
Yeah, not as much as...
Hit me with that stick.
Not as much as the pus-filled fucking rock-style
crusty
warts.
pie.
Yeah. Oh, I fancy a pie now.
Crusty pie.
So then, we go to what is actually... my favourite scene. It's where they're having the council talking about them taking Casterly Rock.
And this as well, the way it was done was quite good, and I think the way it's done that because of the fact of the shorter episodes and
so they've done a complete non-diegetic scene. There's no in-scene sound. It's all Tyrion voicing over why they're going to win, how they're going to get in, and all that. Right? That battle, in theory, based on Jaime taking a load of them away. Which obviously we found out later is that it was basically an ambush. Yeah. Jaime took them away, Euron destroyed their fleet. Because that would have been a bit of a weird battle to watch, because it would have been very clearly one-sided. And obviously that would have cost shitloads of money for a battle that's ultimately nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's more... So then having that bit where like Tyrion's chatting away like, I'm fucking great, I used to fuck whores in the sewers.
Yeah. And I've got down here, I've written Tyrion's whore hole, Prison Break style. Yes. Because he's like, what we need to do is we need to get in and we need to put cranes into the system, and then the cranes will come out, the little paper cranes, and I'm going to tattoo lots of architecture on me, and that'll be a map into Casterly Rock.
There's the bit where he's like, they'll be less armoured and outnumbered, but they're not fighting because of fear, blah, blah. It's that the Unsullied are wearing leather armour and appear to have spears and shields. And the Lannisters appear to be wearing leather armour and have spears and shields. So it's like, I could get the outnumbered thing, but they seem to be pretty even on the old equipment.
They're just better trained. Yeah. They're just better trained. And they're Unsullied, obviously. Because I like the old javelin to the chest.
That was it. Fucking Grey Worm is Superman confirmed. Yeah. Pins a man to the chest with that fucking javelin. Then we see them, obviously, that it was a feint. And they're actually taking Highgarden. Yeah. And we see, as it pans out, we see Jaime's there. We see Bronn's there as well.
Yes, this is what I was going to say. Yeah. You've also got...
And this confirms that Randall Tarley...
Sam's dad.
...is betraying betraying his oath to the Tyrells. Yes. To support the crown. Yeah. And we see that here.
But also at the same point, if he wasn't there, they would have still taken Highcastle, killed her, and then he'd be like...
Debatable. I mean, I agree it probably would have happened, because Olenna even admits in the next scene that they're really bad at fighting. Randall Tarley's supposed to be one of the best generals and brought a shitload of troops with them. So there probably wouldn't have been as many Lannisters, so Highgarden might have been able to fight them off for a bit.
They only look like a little pile of
there was like 10 dudes.
10 dudes just there. Just like,
but then did you notice that
in the courtyard,
as they're moving the bodies, you also see them moving piles of gold as well?
Yeah.
So they fainted.
Paying their debt. Yeah. It's not their debt though. It's not their money. Well, now it is.
Now it is, yeah.
They're like, well, we'll get these people's money and pay.
Which that even says when he then goes upstairs and Olenna admits that the Tyrells are shit at fighting, or he's better at intrigue and that. And he's like, well, I did what Robb Stark did to me in season 2 with the Whispering Wood thing, where he made it like he fainted him. He looked like he was going to be somewhere, and then he took his army elsewhere to do a more strategic asset. And well, that was kind of interesting because it's like. People keep saying, it's showing that Cersei's smarter than Tyrion, because everyone's always said Tyrion's smarter. Now she's outthinking him every time. I don't think she is. I think Jaime's outthinking him.
Yeah, she is.
Jaime, she has nothing to do with it. She's like, Jaime's the general. Jaime's clearly making these plans. Yeah. And Jaime's outdoing Tyrion, which is understandable because Tyrion's not a war leader, realistically, like Jaime is. He's been a general and that for years. I think that's really cool to see how he's Just getting better, right?
She got back there pretty fast, though, from Dragonstone. Take like a month to get there, apparently.
Didn't find Euron on the way.
Yeah, well, he's on the sea, so she probably stayed in the land.
Yeah, but she would have had to go past King's Landing.
What they're going to do, I think, in one of the battle scenes towards the end, Euron's ship's just going to be cruising through the land, just like on wheels or something, just like cruising through the land.
Family Guy episode.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just going to come out of it on his alligator.
Did you notice that they're clearly setting up for a big battle, though? I mean, aside from everything else.
Yeah.
Because now they're like the Unsullied are going to have to march back from Castle Rock to Dragonstone. And then Jamie and that was also going to have to march back from Highgarden.
Yeah.
Do you remember they said a few episodes ago they weren't going to have a big battle because they didn't want to endanger the people at King's Landing. But now both armies are totally out in the open.
Yeah.
So both armies can have a big ass fight.
Might get some dragons in.
And the Dothraki. Dothraki haven't yet to make a proper appearance.
Don't. They're like. I mean, Daenerys is the way in which her level of her armies work and everything very much reminds me of Hitler. She's got like her personal, because Hitler had the SS, the SA, and the army, and then he had he had to choose at one point which would be his army and which wouldn't, just in case someone would overthrow him.
Crystal Nugget.
And yeah, exactly, Crystal Nugget. And it's kind of similar to that. Like Dothraki's like her private army, and the Unsullied are like her forefront army. So they're like a personal guard in a sense, like Saddam Hussein.
I love that bit. You were wearing Joffrey's sword, and he's like, yes. He's like, what did he call it? He's like, he grimaces and he's like, Widow's Wail.
Widow's
Wail.
Like,
that was God, what a cunt.
Yeah,
that was wonderful.
It's like he always was a cunt, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then he's just like, yeah.
And then because Jamie obviously feels for Lena and obviously seems to have quite a lot of respect for her.
Yeah, because he's chatting to her normally.
Yeah, and she tells him all this stuff about how Cersei's a monster. And I feel like if you look, he looks visibly a little bit shaken by that. Like he tries to put up a good front, but I think it's like maybe she's right, maybe. Like, because he's seen a lot of his sister going crazy. I felt really bad in that scene because she's just like, how are you going to do it? It's like, oh, Cersei wanted to like torture the shit out of you, but basically here's this poison that's going to kill you pretty quickly. And she's just like, oh, by the way, murdered your son.
That was great.
Just necks it. But it was weird because I felt like she was trying to say it like a regret, because when she's like, you know,
it's like a confession in a sense.
She's like, you know, I'd never seen the poison work before. I didn't know it was going to be like that.
Yeah.
But she says it in such a way where she's just like, fuck you. She's just flipping him off. And then she's like, tell Cersei. And then also, I thought he was going to just stab her with a sword after that. But he didn't. He actually walked out and left her. Yeah. She could technically have some antidote somewhere. Well, I mean, the Tyrells are like famous for all this poison bullshit and that, so she might just be like, yeah. She might be like, oh, good poison, thanks. Yeah, cheers. Nice. Cheers. I think she is going to be dead. But I thought the acting was pretty good in that scene as well. Diana Riggs? Diana Rigg, yeah. She's fucking amazing. She was very good in that scene as well. I definitely know the guy who plays Jamie, but in that scene, I think the acting in this entire episode was just phenomenal. Yeah. I think it was so top notch. Because they've been kind of allies for so long as well, previously as well, so you can tell they've got like a lot of respect for each other in a sense. Because she's basically like, your sister's going crazy, like your son went crazy and she needs to be stopped, but she's going to consume you, blah blah blah. And he's basically like, yeah, I know, but, and his excuse is, well, don't you think after this is all over she's going to calm down? Yeah. He thinks she's going to calm down after this is all over. Oh, okay. It's like, yeah, well, when everyone stops opposing the crown, then yes, everything's going to stop, but then it's not going to happen. No. And again, in regards to Euron and attacking the ships, no one think that was going to happen. Yeah. It's just, he just appeared again. Yeah. And it's like, you just had a load of ships destroyed. Come on. Yeah, that means he went further. He went to King's Landing, paraded about, and went even further south then. Yeah. I did like Jamie's idea of the fact that, well, we'll just vacate. Yeah. They're going to attack it. We just won't be there. Well, the thing is, if you think about it... And then we'll kind of trap them. King's Landing basically has no real value anymore. Yeah. Not King's Landing, sorry, Castle Rock. Yeah, apart from some childhood memories. Yeah, well, there's no gold there. There's nothing else. Yeah. Oh, so we've pretty much got to the end of the episode now. Yeah. But there was a couple of other things that someone pointed out I thought was kind of interesting, was how is Daenerys feeding her massive army? Yeah, she does have a huge army. They've sailed across, massive ships, so they're probably... Let's be generous and say they've got enough. They brought enough food somehow to feed that entire army for several more months. She's then on Dragonstone, where they even said that there's nothing there because it was gone. It's completely barren. There's no lords around to give her tribute or anything like that. We don't see him ever taking any food in that. And this is the show where, like, Jane even says when they go to Castle Rock, they'll have to leave because we emptied all the larders. So there's proof that in this show, food does matter. Yeah. So where the fuck? Well, originally they were going to
or what they are planning to do is go to King's Landing and cut them off. Weren't they? They're going to basically starve them out as well. It is a bit difficult. And also in previous series, they had stuff like they just stopped giving people food and they then rebelled against Cersei and Joffrey.
That pretty much concludes Queen's Justice. But now,
Queen's is Justice.
This is a massive potential spoilers, right?
Oh no, you're allowed to say spoiler.
What?
I've been saying spoiler all the time.
I know, but that's what I'm bringing up now. No, but my point is
spoiler.
I will kill you in your own home. Your wife will find
Game of Thrones style.
Yes.
Poison.
So, no, cut your throat.
No.
Basically, especially last night, last year there was apparently a script leak, a plot leak for all of season 7.
Yeah, like a synopsis.
Yeah, and last week we were going to discuss it, but we wanted to see if this week's synopsis was spot on before we discussed it, and it pretty much was.
Yeah.
So I thought we could have a quick chat about that.
Yeah.
But also, last night, there was an actual script leak for next week's episode. They've actually been hacked.
And apparently they got about 1.5 terabytes of data.
Yeah, that's a really long script.
It could be, or it could just be like a 4K episode, just one episode in 4K.
So if we go through this, there's a slightly more detailed summary, but this one sort of breaks it into episodes. And we'll see it you guys think. We've got episode 1. White Walkers march south towards the wall. Bran crosses the wall, which is what happened.
Yeah.
These are very brief synopses. So, episode 2. Jon receives a raven from Dany. She's summoning the Lords of Westeros. Jon and Davos decide to go because they need the Dragon Glass. Jon leaves Sansa in charge of Winterfell. And then Jon leaves Ghost at Winterfell, where he will stay all season. Now, we haven't seen Ghost yet, at all, which is interesting. Then episode 3. They arrive at... This is interesting. Jon and Davos arrive at the beach of Dragonstone. Tyrion meets them. The Dothraki take their ship, which is what happened.
Exactly what happened.
And Tyrion brings them to meet Dany, encountering Missandei and Grey Worm.
Refuses to bend the knee.
Yep, Dany and Jon meet. Dany demands he bend the knee, which he refuses. They discuss the White Walkers, which doesn't believe him, but Tyrion insists that Jon isn't crazy. Again, that all happened.
Coincidence.
Davos tries to mention Jon's resurrection. Jon dismisses it. Dany respects Jon, apparently. Bran arrives at Winterfell. This, by the way, the article I'm reading from was in October of last year.
Yeah, and also the amusing thing was a lot of people saying, no, that's a load of rubbish, that isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were saying, no, that because it's shit. It's not going to happen. And it's slowly happening. And they're like,
Then we've got episode 4, Arya arrives at Winterfell. That's it. That's all episode. But we saw that in the trailer. Did you watch the trailer for next week?
I haven't seen that trailer, no.
It's really short, but there's a shot of basically Arya on her horse looking at Winterfell just on a hill.
So we were correct with the whole...
she's going north. Yes, because there was a lot of debate about that. Because everyone said, she's now going to go south. But no, we were right. Fuck them.
They're like, basically the wolf was like, get back on track type thing. We were correct. Everyone else was wrong in the entire world.
Then we've got episode 5, 6 and 7. They're quite long. So episode 5, Sam leaves Old Town for Winterfell with Gilly and baby Sam. I could see that happening. Especially if what I said about the scrolls is true. If he finds more information in those scrolls, I can see him leaving that. And then we've got Jorah reunites with Dany.
Yeah, we know that's happening because he's going straight for her, isn't he?
Jon receives a raven telling him that Bran and Arya are at Winterfell. This is in episode 5. So
that'll be from Sansa, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Littlefinger.
Jaime, Bronn, Tyrion and Davos, which is interesting because Jaime and Bronn obviously meeting with Tyrion and Davos.
Okay.
Have a secret meeting at some point where Tyrion tries to persuade them to surrender to Dany. Jaime ignores him. Unclear if this happens before or after Dany ambushes the Lannister army.
So what that probably means, though, is the fact that Tyrion's doing his diplomatic thing.
Yes.
Being like, look, I'm going to give you guys a chance because she's probably going to burn the shit out of you.
This is interesting. Gendry is in King's Landing making weapons and is found by Davos. So that would mean Davos has gone to King's Landing. Again, some of these have been slightly wrong, but the general summary of each episode...
Some things could be cut out.
Yeah.
But is there any... did you say Gendry?
He's not Rowan anymore.
He's not Rowan anymore, which is weird. He got just like Euron's destroyed everything in the sea. He's just like, I've got to go back to blacksmithing. So maybe it's because that they need... I don't know. I can't remember how close Davos is with Gendry, but Gendry was a good blacksmith, wasn't he? He
was amazing.
Blacksmith. And maybe they need him for the weapons.
And he's also one of Robert's actual sons.
Yeah, and maybe they need him for the weapons.
Yeah, and we got episode 6. The party travels to Eastwatch by the Sea, which is the last castle on the wall before it meets the sea.
Oh, so that's the part where apparently all the White Walkers are going to go around it, according to...
In theory, yes.
Was that according to the Hound? One of them, wasn't there like a foretelling and the Hound was like looking at the fire? He was like, they're going to go around it.
You've got Jon leads a small force, himself, the Hound, Beric Dondarrion, Thoros of Myr, Tormund, Jorah, and Gendry.
And Gendry.
What,
beyond the wall, is it?
Yeah, to capture a white.
Yeah.
The team is attacked by the Night's King army, including a white polar bear, and the bear kills Thoros of Myr. And it just says here...
When you say white polar bear, you mean WIGHT? Polar bear.
Yes.
Rather than a white polar bear, because polar bears are white. So we're going into lost territory.
Well, technically, polar bears aren't they like black or brown? And it's actually all of their hairs are like really reflective or see-through or something. Yeah,
basically. They got black skin.
Yeah, so... Anyway, but yes, it's
isn't she got black skin?
And apparently Thoros dies.
Probably.
They're surrounded on an island on a frozen lake and are nearly overcome until Dany and her dragon show up. She flows most of the team back to Eastwatch, the castle, but Jon is left behind. Jon is almost...
She's like, I still don't believe you, Jon.
Yeah, but Jon is almost killed, but Cold Hands / Benjen, his uncle...
Yes, the zombie man.
Because in the books he's become Cold Hands, is that character's name. But arrives and sends Jon off with his horse while continuing to fight the Horde. Jon watches Benjen swarmed by the undead as he rides half dead to safety. Then we have Viserion, which is one of her dragons.
Yeah.
Is killed by the Night's King and raised by the Night's King.
Yeah.
Then we have Jon offers to lay down his title of King in the North if Dany and her forces will help against the White Walkers.
Yeah.
And that's the end of episode 6. Then we have episode 7, where we have Sansa sentences Littlefinger to death, which Arya carries out.
Now, why though? Like, at what point is it because he is winding them up?
Maybe, but did you notice in the in the trailer for next episode, you see him, and then you see a shot of the dagger, the Valyrian steel dagger that he used to frame Tyrion back in season 1, that made Catelyn arrest Tyrion and most of this kick off.
Yeah.
So maybe he was sensitive to that.
Maybe.
Cersei awakens in a bed soaked with blood. The general consensus is that she has miscarried. Jaime fuckied.
Yeah, but how pregnant?
Who knows?
How far into it?
I don't fucking know.
A couple of days.
I'd say, mate.
She needs new sheets now, doesn't she?
Yeah. Jam and Bran figure out Jon's heritage. He is apparently a legitimised Targaryen named Aegon.
Yeah, Aegon, like the that'd be his father then.
No, his father's Rhaegar.
That was Rhaegar.
Yeah, his father.
They all sound the same. Rhaegun.
But that'd be interesting because if he's legitimised Targaryen, that means that Lyanna and Rhaegar were married.
Yeah.
And he is technically the next claimant to the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And then who finds this out then?
Sam and Bran.
Okay, yeah. So Sam, at this point, where would Bran and Sam meet up then?
Winterfell, because Sam was headed to Winterfell after 2 episodes. According to this, he was headed back. And then Jon and Dany have sex for the first time on a boat headed north. I mean, that's what I said last week. I said that they are going to end up having sex.
Yeah.
We'll see, I guess. I mean, the Targaryens like to keep it in the family.
Well, at least he's got his boat back. He's well upset about his boat.
Yeah. And then the wall falls at the end of the episode. The Night King attacks the wall with the reanimated Viserion, who now breathes blue fire.
And I reckon it will cut out at that point.
Yeah, it'll do a Sopranos.
It will end like that.
The wall crashed.
There's a dragon in Sopranos.
Yeah.
Dead dragon in Sopranos.
And that's all this summary. So far, they've been pretty spot on, to be honest. Yeah. So I'm willing to believe that large chunks of that could be true. I
think they're going to cut bits out for editing and final bits. They're not going to reshoot.
Well, apparently, just to talk about editing. Apparently, there was actually a scene with Ghost in it this week that got cut.
Yeah, so maybe they just decide to cut out all the Ghost bits.
Yeah, well, it's just I feel like considering that summary was released like in October last year. They were probably like, right, well, this is still going to be our core script, but let's change a few things so it's not completely
It'd be really funny, though, if all they've done is, instead of reshooting, they just sample together lots of sentences just to completely stage the storyline. So you'll have, like, Jon in all these different locations, and it'd be like, yes, Daenerys, I am the Targaryen prince who should be on the throne, and something like that. And it'd just be like that, just editing it all together.
The Nerds of War podcast today, bringing to you the Game of Thrones postcast for Season 7, Episode 3, Queen's Justice. Thank you guys for watching. Join in next time, and we'll see what happens next week. Peace.